Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SummerMania 18 post-show conference. Our first guest is your international champion, Hunter Halcyon.
How's it going? How's it going, guys? How's everybody feeling tonight? I heard we got some questions here tonight. What's up?
I'll open it up to the guests in the room. Is there anyone that has any questions for the international champion?
Now that you won your title, what do you do to plan to celebrate?
To celebrate? Well, usually I'd go home, drink a couple Gatorades, then I would turn around and play some video games. But tonight, I think I'm just gonna go home and go to sleep. I feel like I accomplished everything that I needed tonight. I don't need anyone's validation for anything. Next question?
So, after defeating Brogan O'Shea in what was one of the most grueling tables, ladders, and chairs matches in XCW history, who might you foresee yourself defending the International Championship against next?
Man, there's a whole loaded roster of fantastic talent that is always coming in to XCW. I mean, the first obvious threat is the New Age champion, my good friend Eric Mason. As much as I don't want that to happen, if it does happen, I love you, Eric, but I'm coming out victorious. Also, I mean, hey, there's some new faces here in XCW. Wow, I heard there was a kid named Amen that may show up sometime. I have to keep my eye out for him. There's always great talent around like Onyx or Evan Phoenix that can always give me a great challenge. I'm just looking forward to who can give it to me next.
Well, speaking of giving it to you next, we saw a different side of Hunter Halcyon in this tables, ladders, and chairs match. Usually you're the fun-loving gaming nerd, but you tapped into a vicious side. You wear a yin and yang symbol. You obviously tapped into the yang to your yin, hitting Brogan O'Shea with 15 chair shots throughout the duration
Give or take.
of your match.
Give or take.
What was it like tapping into that more aggressive side of Hunter Halcyon?
Well, you know, it's a question that I've been dreading to hear for 20 years, to be completely honest with you. I knew for 2.5 years I would have to tap to this side of me because I know that there's a different level of competition here that is unmatched, that I have to live up to. Me by myself, I'm not 100% what I can be. And I think I showed that tonight. I don't need anybody, anything, any controllers, any old dead memories, anything that haunts me to keep me alive anymore. I live for this company. I live for this title. And I promise you until my very last breath, Hunter Halcyon will live, bleed, and die XCW. That's a promise.
Well, on that note, Mr. Hunter Halcyon, we thank you for joining us here on the SummerMania post-show conference, and we look forward to seeing what's next for the International Championship here in XCW.
I look forward.
But before you get out of here, I'm going to open it up to another question from the crowd. So,
What's your favorite flavor ice cream?
Oh shit. I haven't had ice cream in a long time, you know? I'm really skinny if you can't tell. It'd probably either be cookies and cream or moose tracks. Good old.
well, Hunter Halcyon, thank you for joining us here on the post-show conference. We've got other guests to attend to. Congratulations on retaining your championship, and we look forward to seeing what's next for Hunter Halcyon.
I look forward to showing all of you what is next. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was your international champion, Hunter Halcyon. And switching gears here for a second from the main card over to the pre-show, we saw a showcase of outside talent here at XCW's biggest show of the year, so I feel it's only right to invite one of them onto the show. Ladies and gentlemen, your next guest is the headline of Backyard Wrestling, Aaron Blake.
Thank you.
So, before we start, it's Eamon, Hunter. I figured that you would know that considering you look and literally are a geek. Secondly, thank you, Fletch, for this great opportunity. Now let's get to this.
Well, before anyone else can ask a question, I have a question for you. You've competed in over a dozen other promotions throughout your tenure in Backyard Wrestling. What does it mean to step onto a stage as grand as XCW SummerMania, whereas you've competed elsewhere and not had as grand of opportunities?
I talk about this with other people I've worked with, plan on working with. I am 100% certain that XCW is the one place in the yard that's actually worth a fuck. Nobody, and I mean not a single person or company, is doing what XCW is doing. Inviting great talented people, and there's some subpar people. I mean, look at who I face. Then there's Self-Destruct, who's too busy fucking up making pizzas and, oh, I hurt my elbow. Bitch, I fucking pulled a muscle, fucked up my foot, still set up and tore everything down, because I'm a man. I'm fucking 18 years old, and I'm still doing more than you'll ever fucking do. So how do I feel? I feel fucking great. This is the land of opportunity. This is the place to make a name for yourself. I said it out there after I beat Division Nick.
Well, on that note, I'm going to open it up to the crowd. Does the man over in the gaming shirt, what's your question?
Well, now that you're in XCW, is there anybody on the roster currently that you are interested in facing?
There's many. I owe Corey Lee a receipt or two for fucking me up in this company and others. I would like a match with Fletch. I think that's long overdue. And if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, you don't. Hunter Halcyon failed to name drop me correctly earlier, so why not defend your international championship against someone that's actually, been an international fucking talent? But I'm open to anything, any stipulation. I don't really care.
Well, is there anybody else in the crowd here tonight that would like to ask Mr. Blaze a question?
What makes you any different than any other new guy?
Because I'm not going to leave 2 days in. Next question.
We had a gentleman here in the back that would like to ask you a question, sir.
What do you think about your skill set makes you more dynamic here in XCW than any other company?
My skill set. That's a good question. Skill set. Well, I believe anybody, given the right opportunity, can figure out a way to get the win. I mean, you saw who I faced. Dude was this goddamn big, right? Everyone was expecting, oh, this fucking Undertaker ripoff is gonna kick this black kid's ass. And what happened? I kicked his head off. I out-wrestled him. I outsmarted him. I outperformed him. So in the sense of skill set, anyone has skill to get the job done. Doesn't really matter.
Mr. Aaron Blaze, we appreciate you joining us here on the SummerMania 18 post-show conference. Are there any closing words from the headline of Backyard Wrestling before we move on to other guests?
I have made many places my house, my home, a place I can look back on that, hey, I went to this place and I'm proud of what I've done. But here, it's a whole different ballgame for many, and I mean many, reasons. So expect to see more of me.
Well, thank you, Mr. Aaron Blaze, for joining us on the post-show conference. We have more guests to attend to, so if you don't mind exiting stage left. And our next guest here on the SummerMania 18 post-show conference is a man who shocked the galaxy by capturing the XCW Heavyweight Championship, and what would happen next, no one would expect. So, ladies and gentlemen, my guest at this time is Mr. Breakaway Brady Branson. So, Mr. Branson, thank you for joining us here on the post-show conference.
Have you asked a question yet?
Obviously, you are now representing EBW, a company with a very long tenured history here to the galaxy. What does it mean to be a representative of EBW but hold the XCW Heavyweight Championship?
You asked a question yet?
Well, I'm going to open it up to the guests here tonight. Is there anyone that would like to ask your new heavyweight champion a question? The man in the back.
What does
Your voice annoys me, Pass.
Is there anybody else who would like to ask Mr. Brady Branson a question?
So how long do you plan to continue to terrorize the locker room?
Pass.
The man in the back has another question.
Can you kick him out?
Are your favorite colors still red, white, and blue?
Pass.
When you broke away from your patriotic habits here in Explosive Championship Wrestling, what did it mean for you to lose everything and now once again be back on
Too
top?
many words, Pass.
Does anybody else have a question for this chucklefuck? Mr. Redshirt.
Why couldn't you get the job done by yourself?
Next question.
You gonna answer anybody's questions?
Next question.
Mr. Brady Branson, we don't like having you. Goodbye.
What?
And
Fuck you.
our next guest on the post-show conference is another man that was in that main event, someone who earned their spot by winning the Extreme King Battle Royal. Ladies and gentlemen, the smartest man in the room, the scholar of XCW, Alex Cardona Thompson, ACT. Mr. Cardona Thompson, thank you for joining us here on the post-show conference. Obviously, things didn't go your way with how you thought your SummerMania 18 journey was going to go. How do you feel with the outcome and the obvious shock that happened after?
You know, you're right. Things didn't go my way, but throughout my time in XCW, I've went from being the guy who peed in ashes. I took my own brother out of the company, and I've turned a whole new leaf, and I feel like at SummerMania, I proved myself to everyone who doubted me, and I got the XCW Galaxy on my side finally, and just knowing that, yeah, the outcome wasn't what I wanted, but knowing that now I have the XCW Galaxy on my side, cheering me on, I feel like it's only a matter of time until the XCW Galaxy gets a champion that they can rally behind, that they can support, and that they can know this guy's going to defend this company no matter who's it against.
Now, I'm going to ask one more question before I open it up to the panel. Obviously, tonight at SummerMania, we did witness the in-ring retirement of Eric Blackheart, having a storied history with Blackheart, obviously mentioning pissing and ashes. What does it mean to you to have been there for that moment?
I mean, it means a lot to me. I feel like that feud was kind of my first opportunity to get on the mic and kind of explain more of a character that was willing to get personal and was willing to bring outside stuff into the actual feud to make it better, to put more focus on that story. And I mean, Blackheart's had a great career. I mean, you look at the last 2 years he had before retiring. World champion, Extreme King winner, well-deserved superstar of the year, beats Hayden Vex in a Texas death match to go out on top with all of his former XAWA friends supporting him. So just getting that opportunity before he did retire to work with such a veteran, not only in XCW but just in backyard wrestling in general, that kind of meant a great amount to me, having that opportunity.
Well, those are some very kind words. I'm going to open it up to the panel in the room. We've got 2 questions right off the bat. I'm going to go with the man in the back before we go with Mr. Redshirt. Man in the back.
Hi, Alex. Unfortunate loss today. I'm really sorry about that. But I would like to ask, because the XCW Galaxy is wondering, how do you bounce back from something like this? Like an uprising of some sort that just took you out of your big match at SummerMania? What does that do to you?
I think the first way to bounce back is by taking out the man that tried to block me away in Corey Lee. I mean, you saw it time and time again, trying to get me to put my spot on the line multiple occasions, and I mean, he got the best of me throughout, and I feel like I deserve that opportunity to go one-on-one with Corey Lee and get that opportunity to truly put him away before turning my focus on bringing the XCW Championship back to XCW.
And I'm going to turn it to Mr. Redshirt guy.
Hi, ACT. You mentioned having the XCW Galaxy behind you. What was it like receiving that reaction throughout that whole triple threat match?
It was a whole different feeling at first. I mean, I've been a heel basically my whole career up until the last few months, and this was the first time really I've had the crowd rallying around me. I mean, throughout the match at multiple times I was taken down and it looked like I was out of it, but I used that support, and I mean, even at the end, Corey Lee hitting with the FML, a lot of fans thought that was the end, and just me kicking out, I heard that support from them, and now knowing I have that support, I can fully focus on capturing the XCW Championship.
And we have one more question from the crowd, Mr. Gaming Shirt.
Now, we all saw out there that you definitely got screwed out of the XCW Championship, and again, once again, sorry about that, but also, Corey Lee got screwed too. Do you view him more in this situation as an enemy, or maybe he might be more valuable to you as an ally now?
I don't really know how to answer that question. I mean, Corey Lee, you can say yes, he got screwed, but Corey Lee wasn't the one who got super kicked. Corey Lee wasn't the one who got pinned. I failed at SummerMania. I didn't fail just myself. I failed the XCW Galaxy, who needed me to win to prevent the takeover of, it seems like EBW's back now. So Corey Lee is someone that right now I do still view him as someone I need to defeat. I mean, I never got that one-on-one with him that typically the Extreme King winner gets, is that one-on-one with the XCW champion. In the future though, when it comes to taking down EBW, Corey Lee's done it before. So if I need help and Corey Lee's willing to support me, he's definitely someone I'm going to go to for that support, even if he's not one to give it.
Well, Mr. ACT, if there's no other comments or questions from the panel here in the room, I would like to thank you for your time and thank you for being on the post-show panel, and hopefully everything works out more in your favor going forward. But are there any other questions from the panel? No? Thank you, Mr. ACT.
I got one thing left to say. You know, when I looked up after being pinned, I saw 3 men with EBW shirts. Hayden Vex, Chris Jones, Brady Branson. I have something to say to all three. Chris Jones, I took you to the airport. That whole entire drive, you mentioned how you saw plane crash videos the entire time. You want to know what a plane crash feels like? I'm going to show you. You're going to step in the ring with the Scholar, and you are going to know that a plane crash isn't worse than facing me. I'm going to break you down limb by limb and show you that you should have stayed in the retirement home. And then there's Hayden Vex. You whine on Facebook so much about just drinking one more bottle to end it all. Oh, I'll end you for sure, Hayden Vex. You wanted to come out and support EBW after you showed support for Blackheart. You were in tears and it seemed like maybe you were changing a new leaf, but it seems like that was all a lie. Last but not least, Brady Branson, you can break away from XCW. You can break away from the chains. What you can't break away is from me. So whoever wants to join EBW, whoever wants to support Chris Jones, Hayden Vex, and Brady Branson, just know that joining them, oh, that's only the beginning, because I'm going to make your life a living hell from the moment you turn your back on this company.
Thank you, Mr. Alex Cardona Thompson. And let's switch gears now to someone who had the fight 20 years in the making. Ladies and gentlemen, he's battle tested. This is Fletch. Before I open it up to the crowd with any questions, I have a question for you. Obviously, we all have seen behind the curtain a little bit more this year than in years past, and we know that behind the scenes you do a lot of the production side of stuff. What does it mean to you as a producer and someone behind the scenes to look at this year's SummerMania and see the crowd we pulled and the fact we were in a building compared to SummerMania years past?
Well, sometimes being in a building is not exactly ideal, and it wasn't the original plan. We did have our original building, the YMCA. It was booked for SummerMania as an emergency situation. Obviously, a little bit of a falling out with that building. We won't be returning, but we have a great relationship with the St. Paul Gymnasium, and some weather came in, especially early this morning, and it was just best for us to kind of go that route. And honestly, people get excited about SummerMania more than any other event on the calendar because it is the biggest event. On a production side, it's the reason why I have gray in my beard is because of this show. This is the most difficult day of my entire year, but it's also the most rewarding, and I think this show particularly may be one of the most rewarding shows I've ever had in 20 years.
And speaking of your 20-year history, before I open it up to the guests here in the room, 20 years in the making, you faced Justin Parsley. Again, someone behind the scenes. Obviously, for a long time, there wasn't a bridge built between Justin Parsley and XCW. Was there ever a thought in your mind that throughout the duration of your 20 years that Justin Parsley would be in a match at the biggest show of the year, let alone in a match against you?
Absolutely not. As you've seen on the video package, prior to our match at SummerMania, we have a very long-standing history. I started back in 2002 as part of BYWE, a company ran by Justin, and I was brought in by Kurt Acid, and that's our biggest bond was Kurt Acid, and so I started back in the day with him, and we had a little run. I came back in 2006, and I had a small run again in BYWE, and so Justin and I have found ways to be friendly, but we never found a way for him to come into XCW. We never found the right situation, and it's unfortunate that it took Kurt Acid's passing for that to become a reality. However, honestly, it couldn't come at a better time. I know to me, Justin's a special talent. He may be not the best wrestler out there. He may be whatever I think he's one of the best animated, one of the best storytellers I've ever met in my entire life. And one thing that eluded us for 20 years is the fact that we never had a one-on-one match, and this was our opportunity. And not only did we do it, we did it big, but we're doing this all for Kurt Acid too. So it was special to finally get that opportunity after 20 years.
Alrighty, well, I'm going to open it up to the guests in the crowd. We've got a man in a grape shirt. Sir, what's your question?
Well, it seems that ever since royalty, your career has kind of gone on a downhill, if we're being completely honest. You've just finished your match with Justin Parsley. Where does the road end for Fletch? Are you ready to close the book on in the ring? Or do you still have one more left in the tank?
Well, I feel like to a certain point, the ink was starting to come out of the pen and it was starting to fade a little bit, but I shook it and started writing again. And honestly, I just feel like there's more to the story that can be written. And I don't have a foreseeable date or time or scenario in mind. Right now, it's just keep forcing ahead, and it looks like my company's about to do battle once again, so it may need me this time.
And for Mr. Red Shirt, you have a question?
I have a question. So, because you speak on your company needing to do battle again, what are your thoughts on Chris Jones coming back the way he did?
Chris has always been an intricate part of XCW. He's literally, some could argue that there is no XCW without his tenure in the company. The franchise player is not just a moniker. He has proved it time and time again. And Chris and I have both sat down and said this a million times, that Chris was done. He was retired and he was no longer going to be a part of this company. And, we've kept true to our word because he's not in XCW.
And for the man in the back, sir, what is your question?
Well, Fletch, speaking on the topic of Chris Jones and EVW, I know that you have been the most integral part of XCW for years, but I also do know that you do have a very long history with a couple of those guys in EVW. Is there any chance you could switch sides?
Well, in the original EVW and XCW clash, I stayed neutral during that because I did have my respect for Chris Jones and my history with Chris. And and I was in a darker place, obviously, at the time. And so I just thought that, the best route would be to keep to myself. And that's exactly what I did during the original rivalry. And it wasn't until SummerMania 10 came around and I, kind of seen the error of my ways and, thought about, there's a real opportunity here that that XCW folds forever. Like everything that I've built and everything that I've done for 10 years, this could be the absolute end. Luckily, Corey Lee and the weapon in his pocket, Kurt Acid, were able to find a way to put XCW back together, and that changed everything. And from that day forward, it was making sure that XCW was the top product out there. And I feel like numbers don't mean a whole lot these days. We have a great support system. We've got the host of the 2 out of 3 game show, Brady. Yeah, he's a huge supporter. He does a lot to help us out. He gets our name out there. Sportswire Radio, Tom Bryce, shout out to him. He's been doing a phenomenal job getting XCW out there. So all in all, I just think that we have a great product, and I'm going to continue to follow my own product, and we'll see what this EVW venture brings.
Speaking on your product compared to other products, this year more than others, we've seen the emergence of more outside talents such as Aaron Blaze, Division Nick, the Nitro Kingdom making their way into XCW, some of which quickly making their way back out. What does it mean for you to be able to give such opportunities to outside talent to be featured on such high of a platform?
I mean, in this day and age, it's about networking, and if you're going to branch out to a more broad audience, like we're attempting to do, you got to reach out to some of your peers. I wouldn't say that I'm ever a guy, despite what people think about the XAWA situation. I've never been out to put any company out of business or to kind of consume any company. So I want the backyard wrestling, or the amateur pro wrestling as I like to call us, I want to keep that community as strong as possible. There's more of us out there. So you've seen that I've always been pretty giving in regards of like FWL and XAWA and working with outside companies, EWE. So, this gives us an opportunity to bring in guys that work all over the world, get the networking out, get them the opportunity to work talent that they've never worked, give my talent the opportunity to work talent that they've never worked. And it's also about growing a number. This is a business at the end of the day. A moneyless business, unless it's in the negative, but especially in my regard. But I mean, the biggest thing is about growing numbers, and networking is the best way to go about that. And so working with outside talent is healthy for the business in general.
So I know you mentioned XAWA, obviously one of their biggest acquisitions or roster members or production team, whatever you may have it, and Blackheart retired from in-ring action tonight. You being the guy that kind of behind the scenes gets things moving and everything, what does it mean to have such a vital player for years since he's joined the roster be shifting his way out of the roster?
Well, there's definitely still a place on the roster, and you're going to find that out sooner than later. And there's always going to be, because he's part of this family and he's what makes this company tick, more so than anyone even knows. It was special. I wouldn't say that I necessarily get along with, most of the guys from New Paris, Ohio. With Ogre being one of those guys, we've had a bit of a falling out too, but he was there, and I feel like I did the right thing by giving him the opportunity to go out there and celebrate and do the right thing. I will admit that, Blackheart and I have, of course, grown a relationship in the time that he's been in XCW, and selfishly, I had to go out there myself and be able to greet those guys because, Deacon Storm, Blackheart, Trinity, they've all sacrificed and done so much work for this company, and they deserve to have that pat on the back. So I tried to give them their moment, but selfishly I just had to be in that moment and give the opportunity to thank those that were involved as well.
And I have one more question before I open it back up to the panel. Obviously, the last time EBW made its letters known, you had Kurt Acid and you had Corey Lee in the back pocket, hence Corey Lee calling himself the Salvation. That argument went on for years who the true Salvation was. Without having Kurt Acid in the back pocket, do you think that EBW may do what they couldn't do last time?
Well, I mean, it's too early to tell what kind of advantage one or the other has. It's hard to tell right now in the early stages of what this looks like. Is this a legal battle? The last I knew, XCW owned the trademark to EBW when we consumed the company once it folded in 2010. So, or 2014, sorry, at SummerMania 10. There's some legal mumbo jumbo that's got to be dug into, that we got to find out, how much of a threat this is, what makes this You know, obviously having the arguably three of the biggest stars in XCW's history with Brady, Branson, Hayden Vex, and Chris Jones especially. I mean, that's a serious threat. If this is binding, the biggest question is who's behind this and how much power are they going to have? That's the biggest thing right now.
Well, before we let you get out of here, I'm going to open it back up to the panel here in the building with us. Is there anybody else that has a question for Mr. Fletch?
Yeah, bring it on, bring it on.
What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Oh boy, here we go. It's cookies and cream, of course.
Well, are there any other questions, Mr.
Yeah, bring them on.
Mr. All Black?
So, with the new talent coming in, we've seen less and less brand loyalty, and especially with new talent flying from different companies. Do you think this will be a problem with feeding EBW more and more talent versus XCW?
I mean, that's a good question. Obviously, right now, a lot of those guys that are coming in freelance are their contracts are kind of up in the air. So it does give the opportunity for EBW to get more powerful, swoop in, and grab those contracts. So that's something that XW's legal team, Emily Moore, that's something that's got to be looked at. Venom. They got to look at the big picture here, see what the worth is of the guys that are out there, and try to acquire those people before they go to the dark side, as you could say.
Are there any more questions from the Galaxy here tonight? Mr. All Black.
So, with Justin Parsley come to XCW, if you ask some of the older guys, that he's the reason XCW is around today. With that being said, you've won that battle in respect. Are there any other battles left that you personally want to overcome?
I think the biggest thing is just branching out, growing the company, getting more eyes on the product. That's always the number one goal. Bigger than a storied rivalry with another brand or an individual talent. The biggest goal is the XW Galaxy, is the people that are tuning in Thursday nights for our premieres. Are they invested? Are they enjoying the product? And that's the most important thing for me or any of the executives of the company, is to make sure that there's as many eyes on the product. Obviously, that the talent is taken care of to the best of our ability, and that they're happy, and that everybody has a place. I know we have a very large roster right now, and you just watched a 12-hour SummerMania, so I mean, strength in numbers sometimes. But like I said, our biggest goal right now is to get more eyeballs, and if having and I'll be honest, like, how could you ask for better talent than the talent that we have? So,
well, speaking of talent, you've went through XCW for 20 years,
battle tested,
facing talent from the new era, the old era, every era there is. But back at Extreme King, your son would make his XCW debut. How does it feel as Jacoby's father to see him make his SummerMania debut on the pre-show?
Oh, it's one of those things that kind of pulls at the heartstrings, right? Obviously, if you look at the JWF side of things, I'm pissed, right? Like, I hate it. Like, fuck that kid. No, I'm just... But in real life, I mean, I'll be honest, like, how are you going to put him out there? And, I mean, he's even working somebody like SAT, who's been out of the ring for, for a while, and still be able to have the quality of match that he had on today's pre-show. It's mind-blowing. Could you imagine what he's going to be like, in like 7 years, or when he's officially on this roster, or you know, he invades and turns it into JWF. Hell, that's a thing now, right? Everybody wants to invade and change the company. So, I mean, I guess that's a possibility too. But yeah, I'm just I can't express the words of how, you know, grateful I am to have him be able to do that and do it to the ability that he does it. And I'm also a little jealous. I click onto the XCW All Access page and JWF's out performing my Extreme King show. I mean, come on now. It's, what the hell? Where are you guys at? If I slap JWF on this, are you going to watch it? What the hell? Or are you just creeps and you want to watch little kids? I don't know. But regardless, don't stop watching JWF. Keep watching us. Keep watching JWF. Watch it all. Get it out there.
I'm going to open it back up to the Galaxy here for one or two more questions before we stop taking up your very busy schedule. Is there anybody else in the crowd that has a question for Mr. Fletch? Well, it seems as if we are out of questions from the Galaxy. With that being said, Mr. Fletch, are there any final words for the people behind the lens?
Well, you got to put thanks out there to a lot of people that were involved with this show and made it happen. Donnie Dart, Cynical, James Gerke, LOL, Tyler Skaggs, all these guys making special appearances. Brendan Stickle coming out, Deacon Storm, Ogre, Division Nick, Aaron Blaze, guys that don't necessarily have to have the tie to XCW or not officially on our roster or not, you know, in a position that a lot of guys on this roster are, and for them to still come out, perform the way they did, and, you know, prove the power of this company, it's awesome. So you know, like that's the biggest takeaway. 15 matches between a pre-show and a main card is one hell of a day. It's a hell of an accomplishment. We have some grueling tapings coming up this winter for Encounters. And, you know, we're doing it in the heat. We're doing it, you know, with me yelling, screaming, red in the face, you know, hey, time is money, let's go. There's a lot of factors that play into this. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
Well, Mr. Fletch, we thank you for your time. Obviously, there's no more questions. We thank you for joining us here on the SummerMania 18 post-show conference. And ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the SummerMania 18 post-show conference. Thank you all so much for watching the pre-show, the main show, as well as this. And we will see you all in future videos.